Go Gadget Tank.
Spiky Bits.
Welcome back, Hobby Maniacs. I'm Rob Bear, at least these are my hands, and today we're going to break down, unbox, and review the new Space Marine Gladiator tank, the latest floaty tank for the Space Marines that's out there. Now, this is an $80 release from Games Workshop, which I guess it's important to note that the Impulsor, I almost said Repulsor, it's hard to keep all these names straight. The Impulsor, which is just basically the El Camino version of this tank, is only $75. So I feel like if you see this sit on the shelf and you're gonna buy an Impulsor, just buy this because you're gonna get everything you need to make both tanks. And I'm gonna show you today, I'm assuming I will be able to make both of them out of this box here. So we'll get right to that. Now, normally right now, I would say, hey, don't forget, get your hobbies for less from dicehead.com or Amazon or hopefully your local game store. But it's 2020, shit's getting crazy out there. So, well, just get what you can where you can at this point, right? So let's dig into this kit and kind of see how easy it is to build all these variants, because another thing about 2020 and 9th edition is it's better off to future-proof your miniatures so you can play with whatever you need going forward. Now, inside this box is not just the instruction booklet, which is also super helpful, but you also get the little round flight stand thingy, which these things are weird, but I'm starting to like them. I've primed mine black and then I glue them on, and then you've got the space here, and I actually forget, I think this might be 100, but we'll find out here in the instructions. And then, like I said, you're gonna get the sprues for the Impulsor, which we've shown you already how to put this together. And there isn't much magnetizing to do, and I'm going to show you my painted version of this here in a minute. But then you're also going to get the sprues for the Gladiator parts themselves right here. So this is kind of what's extra, and I mean, for $5 extra retail, this seems like a solid value. Now, Games Workshop did that back in the past, with the Rhino kit at some point, and I couldn't tell you when. The Rhino kit was like $35, and the Razorback was like $40, and I think the Predator tank was like $45, although you couldn't make both with a Predator out of a Rhino, but you could do it with a Razorback. So this is kind of like an all-comers kind of doing a Razorback and a Predator version all together into their APC kind of variant there. So they kind of skipped a tank version there, but don't worry. I'm sure it's Games Workshop. They'll come up with something similar to a Razorback at some point when they need a release. Now, digging into the instruction manual a little closer, let's see what we can glean from these pages here. So it is a 100mm round. Did I say 100mm round? I already forgot what I said 2 seconds ago. But anyways, it's 100mm right here, and then you can see the sprue layout there. And of course, they tell you, hey, these are all the variants here. Now, something to note is that this version right here, highlighted in pink, this actually uses the current Impulsor, we'll call it the Swanson bits right here. These use some sort of larger, chonkier kind of version, which you can see right here. It looks like it's got some different outside covers, but just going off of this, I don't see extra inside covers, so I don't see the little sockets. So I think you have to still use the sockets, but we'll find out here in a second as we turn the page. So here's all the normal instructions for the Impulsor, nothing we haven't seen in the past. And I'll try to link my Impulsor unboxing and build here somewhere at some point in this video too, so you can check that out. So at this point, they tell you to put the camper shell over top right here, and it looks like it goes right over top of those rails. So that's interesting. So it looks like you can remove this and you don't have to glue it down. They don't tell you not to glue it down, but I wouldn't glue it down if I was you. And then more stuff that we don't care about. And this sensor thing right here is new, so you do want to assemble this. And if you are making the Impulsor version, which they don't obviously have the instructions to the Impulsor in here, you can assemble the other turret cupola just like this with the stubber, and then you can just don't glue it down, of course, so you can remove it, and actually you could put that on top of the turret, which I imagine, judging by this, is perfectly okay. So let's flip. Okay, so here's the meat and potatoes of this kit. So you can see where this turret goes together, very similar to the Repulsor, both the Repulsors, the Executioner and the normal one. So it kind of clamps it down, and they're like, hey, don't glue this down, stupids. But what I don't like, and I can already tell about this, is you glue them together and then they get sandwiched into this. So that means, in theory, they want you to pick, but let's see what we can actually do here and what we can, how we can hack this kit to actually make it so you can kind of swap them out. And then it's got all sorts of gear and things on the back. Now, just judging by these numbers, you see how this is the A sprue, and these are regular number sprues. I would say the A sprue, which probably we can find out right here, is the upgrade sprue. So that, yep, it is. So that says to me that they want you to use some of these repulsor antennas right here that normally would go, well, of course they don't show you the impulsor, but there's slots on the back of the impulsor for these antennas to go into, and this actually attaches on the back. So what I'm thinking is, don't glue those down, or they might just slot in, but we'll find out when we do this. And then here's what I was talking about with the cupolas. For the sponsons, there's this big chunkier one that, again, see, this is the A sprue, this is the number sprue. So this actually uses the coupler, the hatch, from the normal impulsor kit. So this is going to be an interesting build right here. And to be quite honest, just looking at this, like, okay, so this bolter has 4 barrels. The one that comes on the impulsor has 2. Like, really? Like, I feel like we just need to find a way to interchange this multi-melt and this thing right here. Because, I mean, are we really going to nitpick if something has 2 barrels or 4 on a point defense weapon on a tank? Like, I mean, I just feel like that's just silly. So, like, if we could find a way to interchange this, we could make not only both versions of the Gladiator here, but also the point defense weapon from the Impulsor, and not have to worry about messing around with this ring right here that's apparently used by both versions of the kit. I don't like that. I don't think that's good value by Games Workshop, and personally I don't think this is good value by Games Workshop. I think they should have made a way to interchange these into this area right here. Now, we know they have the technology to bore out holes and put magnets. We've seen it with Forge World, and I just think this is really sloppy, and I don't want to say scummy, but the GW in the past, you could interchange things a little bit easier, and it was almost like they did it on purpose. But now they try to lock you in to doing things a certain way so that you buy more kits. But hey, spoiler alert, y'all, it's 2020. Kits are hard to find, like straight up. So while this business plan might have worked in the best of times, this business plan doesn't work, in my opinion, right now in the worst of times. And it kind of just leaves it just creates a feel badsy, in my opinion. So doing stuff like this, I'd like to see them get away from, but there's ways to get around it, which I'm going to show you here when I build it. But I'm really hoping GW kind of stops doing these sort of silliness here to try to get you to buy more kits, and actually kind of respects the hobbyist and gives us the options that we know they have the technology to do. Okay. Now that I'm calming back down a little bit. So it looks like the turret assembly is actually pretty easy, and there's a range of motion on whichever version of the main turret weapon you choose. And then over here, I kind of like this long-barreled, the Lancer variant. I think it's a super las cannon thing. Has a little targeter, which is kind of neat. And then here they want you to use the one that's out of the Impulsor, which I think is personally silly. And then up here, yep, you use the stubber, and you're supposed to put the stubber on up here, which kind of makes sense because they only give you so many turrets, or so many hatches, right? So you get the 2 hatches in here, so they want you to use one of the hatch from here in here on this kit. So you definitely don't want to glue that down, because you're gonna have to move that hatch around depending on if you build the Gladiator or the Impulsor. So just kind of keep that in mind. Me personally, I think they slotted in just fine, and you don't have to magnetize them or anything like that. And there it is with the stubber. And here's the build overall with all the accoutrement and accessories, little tanks, and I don't even know what these are. I don't know what they are, but whatever. They're there, and they look cool, but it's just more stuff to paint, in my opinion. All right, so let's take a closer look at the sprue and then build this up. Here's the first sprue of the Gladiator upgrade, and it's about your normal squad size sprue right here. And actually, this one with the weapons is about halves the sprue. But again, for $5 more over the Impulsor kit, I feel like that in itself is good value. So this back piece right here, the hatches are detailed on the inside and out, but it doesn't like move or anything like that. And then it looks like this top panel just kind of clamps down on it, like we just saw. Those clamshell together. There's some sort of grenade launchers that lock in right there. But I mean, the detail's pretty good. Like, everything looks pretty solid and what we'd expect from, a Games Workshop kit. Lots of skulls and lots of, doodads and aquillas, and just over, like, a little too much sometimes in detail that they want you to put on there, and nothing too much on the back. And then here is the weapon sprue. that is sliced right down the middle. So you're gonna maybe have some sprue lines, but probably not, because you got to glue them together right down the middle. And then these things, I don't know what they are, some sort of canister, cargo canisters, and the little deuter right there, deuter head, and then large armored covers for the side sponsons and this new antenna right here, which wasn't part of the original kit. So, well, let's see how hard it is to actually glue down and interface with an existing Impulsor kit, and if we can make this modular. Here's my existing Impulsor kit right here. Unfortunately, I left a lot of this, so you know, it's just, you basically just kind of slot it together, and these actually just pop in and pop out, which probably will help us right now. Because future-proofing things seems to be the way to go when it comes to Games Workshop kits. So I glued together the tank area right here, the camper shell as I like to call it, and it looks like this slots right down over top of that. Perfect. So let's put this right here. Lock that down. So that locks in pretty good, and it doesn't look like it's going to move, and it still pops right off, so there's no need to glue that down whatsoever. So you can switch between the two vehicle variants. And then what we did was right here, I made it, I didn't glue those down, but maybe it stuck. The weapons actually did not seem to, yep, there it is. Okay, so a little glue got in there, but it actually slotted in pretty solid. So I was like, maybe we don't have to do anything with that, because if these bolters go in here and they kind of just stick, then why do anything else with the sponson? So what I was thinking was maybe either drop a 1/16 by 1/16 inch magnet in there, or after I prime them, if they don't stick very well, like I feel like if I go to an event and go to the game store and they pop off, that I would actually magnetize them at that point. But it seems like this is super easy now, just to lock in like that. And I guess we'll find out how sturdy they are. Oh, and I didn't glue them down either because I wasn't sure. So I actually just they're in here using a little bit of tension, which is pretty cool. And so we'll lock that in right there. So now we've got our sponsons that are mildly interchangeable with the switching out the front weapon right there. And then we've got our sensor, boom. So that locks in right there. So we're starting to build. It's not as tight, but I'm hoping with a little bit of primer in there, it'll be just fine. Or, you know, maybe you could put a little bit of plastic glue, like super thin plastic glue around the side and get it to stick, or just have that tension, let it dry outside, and then have that little bit of tension that you might need. Now, when it comes to the turret's really interesting here. So all this glues down, and then I just lightly glued this piece on and this piece on so I can pop it off if I need to, but I didn't glue this down, and I want to show you why. So it looks like you can actually slide into these little grooves right here any of the weapons. So that's how I'm going to do it. And then it's got these little pieces here that just lock onto it like this, and then that can just go straight into the recessed ring. And then you put your point defense up here that I already told you about. So you got to swap out those turrets because they only give you enough. And boom, we've got ourselves a modular Gladiator that, other than the turret, it looks like it pretty much holds together just fine, depending on what you want to do right there. So for storage, I ain't even mad about that coming off right like that. And then of course, you know, while you're floating around the battlefield, you can be like pew 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 and all that stuff. But it's being able to build it theoretically without any magnets. You might need some here, and I'm not sure because I haven't primed it yet, but I'm just gonna think that that's a victory right there if I really want to. Those little side canisters, I think you can glue to the top right here, and you know, they'll just pop off with this back here, and then all those extra pieces that they wanted you to use, just glue onto the back, so you don't have to worry about them sticking to the actual Impulsor hull if you are worried about that. But for the most part, I think you can easily interchange this as long as you just don't glue the stuff down that they kind of tell you to, you know. And I feel like that's just a win right there. So as far as that goes, I'm pretty happy with that, because like I said, I don't think they inherently built in value to this kit, but for the most part, you are able to just kind of do a few things or not glue a few things down and get that value out of this kit, and then also still be able to run, like I said, the Impulsor right here just by switching out a few bits just like this, because I mean seriously, it's 4 barrels R2. Like really, is that where we're at as a gaming community? Is we're gonna shame somebody for having four barrels on their gun when they're just trying to save a few bucks in 2020? You know, I feel like that's okay. We'll call that a win. Hey, that's an Impulsor. No worries, all day, every day, right there. So that's all I got. Seems like we did it super quick. The build, I mean, the build went together actually pretty well, and everything lined up to my liking. So I don't feel like there's any issues there that really need to be kind of aware of. You know, just slow down, take your time, cutting things out and kind of trimming things up as far as that goes. So that is it for this one. Of course, remember, you can always get your hobbies for less from Dicehead, from Amazon, or hopefully your local game store, but it's 2020. Get it where you can, I guess, is the theme of this year, right? So make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you can be the very first to like and comment on all our videos.